Hi everyone, you reached Chronicles of the Gray Hair Diva. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, welcome back. For all of you out there, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. Hit the like button, chat with me in the comments, and when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. And share my video with your friends and family so that they can come to my channel and get to know me also. I'm here today with a quick video on Janet Jackson, the documentary currently airing on Lifetime Network. Last night was part 1. Tonight will be part 2. This is my take on part 1. First, know this, I absolutely am a Janet Jackson fan. I love her. I fell in love with her all over again as a result of this documentary. Now, it's going to take 2 hours of time out of your life, but I think the 2 hours is definitely worth it. She addressed the secret baby, the urban legend or rumor that has been going around and living and taking life for decades, that Janet Jackson's first marriage resulted in her hiding a pregnancy. They even have the gender of the secret baby, which they're claiming is a girl. So she addressed that particular, legend. Now, as a result of this documentary, will that legend get buried and go away? I'm not sure. It lives for so many years and took legs over and over again. And then in addition to that, they claimed at one time that James DeBarge himself had even said that there was this secret baby. So I really don't know if after this documentary, it will get buried. I'll tell you my take on it in a moment. So in the documentary, the family members that took part in this was Tito, Randy, and her older sister, Rebe. So in 2017, Janet Jackson allowed cameras into her life, okay? And they followed her for 5 years in order to get this documentary. I'm happy about it. Janet Jackson just seems so tender, so sweet, so shy, so kind-hearted. And I think all of the Jacksons have this similar speaking voice, which I absolutely love. So it starts out with them going back to Gary, Indiana, and that is where Randy accompanied her to their childhood home. And she said she hasn't been there in like 8 years at the time of the documentary. She says that she's a very private person. She just, likes to be alone, but she agreed to do, this documentary. And she said it just needed to be done because other people were telling their story, and it's better that they tell their story themselves. Now, here's a little tidbit, some trivia that I really didn't know that this wasn't so. So I was glad she mentioned it. 2300 Jackson Street is where their family home was, where it all started. And many people thought that Jackson Street was named because of the Jacksons and how famous they become. But she said it was always named Jackson Street. So that wasn't named after them. It just so happened that they were the Jacksons and they lived on that street. So it's interesting because their childhood home is 2300 Jackson Street in Gary, Indiana. Now, Randy, Michael, and Janet called themselves the Three Stooges because out of all their siblings, they hung together the most. They were the closest. They told each other their secrets. So Janet said everywhere they went, it was her, Michael, and Randy just always hanging together, chatting together, and having fun together. So that was interesting. The mom used to work in Sears way back in the day, and their dad, Joe Jackson, worked in a steel mill. Now, Tito, one of the brother, and he's actually he talks a lot in this documentary also. He told the story of how he used to always sneak and play his dad's guitar. So the dad had a guitar, and one day they broke the string on the guitar, and their dad was extremely strict, and so they didn't know how they was gonna tell the dad. But when the mom told the dad, she said, "Look, it's broken." And she said, but you really have to see how well he plays this guitar. And so when the dad heard him play, and they didn't really mention it in the documentary, but I think he, kind of forgave him and said, yes, he's really good. So they said that the mom noticed their talent first, like the talent in the family, but the dad cultivated it. The dad took it further. And so all of them give their dad credit for being the Jacksons, being a well household name as the Jacksons. And they said they wouldn't have had the career that they had without their father. So although many people throughout the years have really given Joe Jackson just a bad name, pretty much saying he abused his kids, the way that he disciplined them. But, even Janet said, listen, my parents disciplined us, but it was also love there. So, but they all, even Janet herself, gives her dad a ton of credit for her career and, everything that they experienced in their life. Now, when they moved to LA, once they became well known, once everybody got to know them, they moved to LA, and they moved to what it was it? Is it Encino, California? And where they moved when they moved to LA, they were the first black family in that neighborhood, which was hard for them. Janet said she remembered being called the N-word. She also remembered when she went to school that she was the only black girl in her class. People wanted to touch her hair. People was like rubbing on her skin to see and ask her, does that come off? When you are the first person that looks different in any situation, people are curious, people want to know. But they experienced a lot of racism. And she said there was also a petition going around the neighborhood to get them kicked out of the area, which is crazy. So just imagine, we could say definitely about 40 something years ago, how things were then. And unfortunately, things still are not much better. It's just crazy to me how we're not really growing as a people. Now, Janet Jackson did a lot of acting when she was younger, and she was on the show called Good Times. I mean, if you're, should I say old enough, or do you remember, or you might have seen it in syndication, the show Good Times. I absolutely love the show Good Times. I used to watch it all the time. But she said her father made her do the audition. Her father wanted her to do it, but she really did not. However, she played a character called Penny on that show. I absolutely loved her as Penny. And what's interesting is that Good Times way back then dealt with such a difficult topic on their show, child abuse. Okay, so they was innovative at the time, and she really played that role. She played the role of an abused child, and it kind of played out on the show to the point where I think that they even took her from her mom, and one of the main characters on the show adopted her. Very good show, even though she didn't want to do it. So that's interesting too, because sometimes your parents, when you are younger, will have you do things that you may not want to do, or you don't feel it's going to be beneficial to you. But in the long run, when you look back, you could be like, wow, if it wasn't for my mom and dad, I would have never did that. But I appreciate it now because I see how much of impact that made in my life and other people's lives. So, it was good that she, that happened. And I'm looking at my notes, guys, because so much happened in these 2 hours. I just wanted to make sure that I hit on every topic. It came a point in Janet's life, because when you're in a family, first of all, when you're in a family, you have a lot of siblings. Even if you're not famous, you kind of have to fight to be heard. And I don't mean physical fight. I just mean you have to do something to stand out, be different, to get your parents' attention. Because listen, in most families, 2 parents have to work. Your mom and dad is working all day. Now you got 4 or 5 or 6 brothers and sisters, and so whoever is the loudest, the boldest, or who needs the most attention, that's who's going to get the attention. I mean, it just is what it is. So usually those middle children, if you are in a family and you have a middle sibling, you know what I'm talking about. Usually they are the ones that are It's either the middle, the youngest, or the oldest. I think the oldest in the family will always have a special place in the parents' hearts. And I'm not talking about parents who treat one child better than the other. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But when you are the firstborn, because you are the firstborn, you're the first child that they had. It's like, that was the first time of your parents experiencing parenthood. And you are like everything. You were the first. And then as it trickles along, depending upon how many more children your parents have, now the first one just got everything new. Now the second one, they may get some stuff new, and then some stuff passed down from their sibling. And that as the line keeps going down and down, less and less happens because there's so many kids and stuff has to be shared, and everything has to go around. So that middle kid, to me, and let me know in the comments what you think, they're usually the ones that's always fighting for their rights and whatever. And then to me, the youngest one is the most spoiled and gets away with everything, because by that time the parents are tired and they like whatever, and sometimes maybe the oldest sibling is kind of help raising the youngest one. So it's just interesting dynamics when you have a large family. But because Joe Jackson was very controlling, and he had a tight knit wrap around his children, and he had a thought process, he had an idea of what he wanted them to become and be, he had to keep his arms around them. So with that being said, Janet Jackson didn't feel like she was free. She felt like everything she did, she was told to do. Like every show she ever did with her brothers, she was told this is what she was going to do. For, like she said, for Good Times, her father told her to go do that audition. So she said the only way she thought she was going to feel some type of freedom was to get married. So she ended up marrying James DeBarge. That's when we get to this first marriage here. She ended up marrying James DeBarge, and she met because he was part of a musical family also. She said they was friends for a long time. They started dating at 16. They used to talk on the phone all the time, so they was friends for a while. But they got married in secret when she was 18. She said he never actually proposed to her with a ring. They went, I want to say, to Michigan. Her uncle married them. And then, her family found out after the fact that she was married. She told an interesting story about right after they got married and they went back to this hotel. He left her in the hotel, told her he'll be back, and he didn't come back for hours. It wasn't until later on she found out that, drugs was an issue. And she mentioned how, like, for some reason, somehow, she's addicted to finding people that are addicted. So she alluded like she always ends up with these people who are drug addicts. And she tried to save him. And I think many of us get into that syndrome, especially when we fall in love with somebody, that we're going to be their savior. What the thing is for anybody to know, you can't save anybody. People have to save themselves, and they have to want to be saved. So she talked about a story where her and him were on the floor tussling over some pills I guess he was trying to take, and it was sad. And she said, she was trying to throw them out, and it just got tiring. It just got to be enough. And then one day she just told him, like, I'm leaving, I'm done. And she was driving back to her mom's house. So it's an interesting story. And I forgot to add, James DeBarge is a part of this documentary. He spoke just a little bit, very little. Didn't look the best, but he's in it. He spoke a little bit about just their relationship, and how once Janet gets to know you, she trusts you or whatever. So it was interesting that they was there. So I told you, and she says, it's like I'm attracted to drug addicts. It's just, but we all have to kind of look back when we get into different relationships. We do need to do an introspective look and say to ourselves, like, okay, what role am I playing in this situation? Why does it seem like I'm always attracting the same person that is not good for my personality or that I don't want? So experts would say you don't track, the words that are coming out your mouth. When you say, oh, I want somebody like this, that, and the other, you attract what's really going on in you internally. And until you fix that barometer, you will keep attracting the same type of people, whether they're good for you or bad for you. So I was glad with her insight on a lot of things that she shared with us. So now Fame, her dad again wanted her to join the cast of Fame, and she wasn't really into it. She really didn't want to do it. So, and then she said too, and it could have had a lot to do with what was going on in her life personally at the time, because that's when she was married to James DeBarge, and she used to wait after, I guess she did her set on Fame. She used to wait hours for him to come pick her up. and he would never come and show up sometimes. And again, because at that time, unfortunately, he was probably doing drugs. So, and that's when I told you already that she fought about, you know, they was fighting over the pills, and then finally she decided to leave him. Well, let's address the baby situation now. When she talked about the baby situation, she pretty much said, you know, people had accused her of giving the baby to her sister Rebe, giving her baby to, you know, one of her brothers. They also accused one of her niece, who looks just like her, of being her child that her brother raised. So the story just took legs and just went on and on. She stated that, one, no, there is no secret baby, and two, that she would absolutely never keep a child away from their father. She said, and actually she didn't say father, she actually said his name. She said, I would never keep a child away from James. And that's pretty much how they addressed that and summed it up. Now, what are my thoughts on it? What do I believe? Here's the problem with rumors. They're so nasty and they're so filthy. And this particular urban legend / rumor has lived for decades. And when I say decades, I mean decades. So I honestly believe the words that was coming out of Janet Jackson's mouth. But because that darn rumor and urban legend has lived so long, part of me is saying like, I want to see the little girl. I want to see this daughter. Like, part of me truly believes that this happened. Now, here's a part that made me still want to connect to this urban legend, this lie. She also said at the time she was doing Fame, I want to say that she mentioned being on birth control and she was getting bigger. And so that also played into the rumor of people believing that she was pregnant and there was this secret baby. But what is her name? Why am I forgetting the major Debbie Allen? So Debbie Allen pretty much said, nah, I ain't never seen no baby. You know, I never seen her. You know, she didn't use the word pregnant, but she pretty much said, you know, I was around her at that time. She was in Fame set, and I never seen any baby. So the point of her wanting to point out and mention that this birth control, which birth control for any female that has ever taken it, you know, it messes with your hormones, and a lot of people do gain a lot of weight initially when first starting to take it, and you know, different people bodies react differently to birth control. But the fact that she mentioned that and wanted to address it, I gave the side. I like, but overall, guys, do I think this child exists? I'm going to say absolutely not. Because at this point, the child would definitely be a full-blown adult. And I can't imagine the child not wanting to speak out, you know, if she knew. Because, again, like I said, not only did they claim it's a secret baby, they know the sex of the secret baby, and they're saying that the baby is a female. Now, Janet Jackson, on this first portion of it, they talked about her husband Renee briefly. They didn't really give that much insight into her. Oh, but before I do that, let me say this. Paula Abdul is in this documentary too, and Paula Abdul, I want to say, helped her with Control and Rhythm Nation, the choreography, and you can tell that Paula Abdul absolutely adores Janet Jackson. I like Paula. I think Paula has a significant mark in the history of culture and dancing and choreography, and I think at some point somebody needs to delve into that a little bit more and, you know, give Paula Abdul her flowers, because Paula Abdul definitely did amazing things with Janet Jackson. She's an amazing dancer and a great choreographer, but you can tell in this documentary that she absolutely loved Janet Jackson, and I love Paula and Janet. So let's continue. Janet met Renee. It was interesting circumstances on how they met, but it seems like once they met, they really connected. Now, Janet Jackson, long time, I want to say, photographer, and was it the photographer? It might have been someone else. I think it was the celebrity stylist who said this. Pretty much that you knew don't mess with Renee. He said now Renee and Janet together was very creative and just, you know, did some amazing things. But he also said you didn't mess with Renee. So it's interesting to me on the people Janet ends up marrying or getting involved with. So it seems like Renee was very controlling. They didn't say much, but they alluded to it. And so her ex-husband Renee, he actually did a lot of filming and a lot of documenting of things that happened in Janet's life, and part of that filming is part of this documentary. So Janet also married Renee kind of in secret, and when I say in secret, the family found out once they were married. So it's interesting to me that here's her second marriage that the family found out after the fact that she was marrying a person. I think we need to delve into that a little more, because I feel like it's something there to be talked about. Now, they asked her, what was her marriage like in comparison to James, versus Renee. One, she said James never proposed with a ring. I guess Renee did. And like I said, that was interesting to me. So, guys, and of course, Janet says she's inspired 100% by Michael. And I think it's also difficult, even if you're not famous for siblings, when one sibling is like ultra successful, and then, other siblings, feel like they gotta rise up to that same occasion, even though people said clearly that Janet never felt like she was in competition with Michael. She loved Michael. And another interesting part, even though Michael and Janet were so tight and super close, there was a time where they were no longer so tight and super close, and that kind of broke my heart when she talked about that in the documentary. So guys, listen, like I said, if you have access to Lifetime, it's a must-see, in my opinion. If you love Janet Jackson, or you even, remotely like Janet Jackson back in the Control, Rhythm Nation years, again, it is a must-see. You'll connect with her personality. It's something about her on that screen, and just how, like, mild-mannered she is and how sweet she is. You feel her through the screen. And she also talked about how she didn't have that many friends because she truly didn't know whether the person really wanted to be her friend, or the person, wanted to be a friend of a Jackson. And I think that's, again, something we all could relate to. It's like, is this person really want to be my friend, or is this person only being nice and kind to me for the benefits that they can get from me? So not having genuine friends is not even just starts at the highest level, like when you're ultra famous and all of that. It could be just on any level. It's like sometimes you feel like it's hard to get friends that really care about the person, versus caring about what they can get from you and the benefit from you at any given time. So my final thoughts, guys, is this. I love the documentary. Again, I love Janet Jackson. You probably heard me say it 1,000 times in this video. And in terms of the secret daughter, she said it isn't so. So it came out of her mouth. I guess we need to roll with it isn't so. Thanks, guys, for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Chat with me when I get an opportunity. I will chat back. Do you think there is a daughter? Or do you connect with Janet Jackson and said, no, there is not? Don't forget to hit the like button. I'll see you in the next video. And I will do my take on part 2. Probably it's probably going to go off late tonight because, as I stated, this first part was 2 hours. It's not coming on again until 8 p.m. for me tonight. So if that part is 2 hours, I'll give my take on that part tomorrow. Again, guys, see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button.